Okay, and we are live. Welcome everyone to our last, I don't want to say official, but I guess our last wrap-up hangout for HumanMOOC. We're going to talk about reflections of the course and also where to move forward from here as far as keeping the conversation going. I'll let everyone introduce themselves. My name is Matt Crossland. I was one of the wayfinders for this course. And with me, I will let everyone introduce themselves. We can start with Maha's first on my list. We'll start with Maha.
Well, I'm Maha. I was also one of the wayfinders and a PhD student at George Mason University in Virginia.
And I'm Patrice Torsivia-Prusco. I'm an instructional designer at Cornell University and was also one of the wayfinders in the course.
And hi, I'm Whitney Kilgore, PhD candidate at the University of North Texas, and one of the wayfinders now the third time in this course, so it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and this was my first time, so it was a lot of fun for me too. I thought we, could have a hangout just to get together and discuss how it went, our reflections. We actually already had some good reflection going on before we even started the broadcast. We'll have to bring all that up again, but I guess I'll just start off with a question. How'd it go? What'd you think? What are your thoughts in general, on the course?
I thought it was absolutely fun and fantastic. As a wayfinder in the course, which is a weird term to use, but we're going to keep using it for fun. I found it really challenging because of the holidays, and I'm sure some of the participants did too, trying to balance family, food, fun, and the course all at the same time, and so that was an interesting challenge.
And this was my first time participating in HumanMOOC, and I thought it was a great experience. And I think one of the things that I really loved about watching everyone interact was that people saw it as a safe space where they could share their ideas and their thoughts, and people were really struggling with the concept of what does it mean to humanize a course? And so the kind of the interaction between everyone as everyone was trying to kind of construct their own definition of what humanizing a course is was great. And one of the things that we really hope is that people will nourish these relationships beyond the course. I mean, I think while the time that you spent in the course was great, having a network of people to go to and kind of just continue sharing and learning is one of our goals for the course.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. This time was a little bit more challenging for me. Besides the holidays, I'm also working on my comprehensive review in 10 days, and then I'll be also a PhD candidate, hopefully. But also, I felt like this time around it was a little different because I saw a lot of participants-led initiatives in this course. I really, really liked that. We had Laura's Twitter buddies and Andy's 5 words describing what humanized online learning is, and the Hangouts. I mean, the participants this time were very active, despite the holidays and all the distractions. So I really loved that.
You bring up a really good point, Maha, because there have been now 3 iterations of the course, and there's been some significant design changes each time the course has run out. And I guess I think of the HumanMOOC as kind of an innovative pedagogical design lab. It's a safe place for us to play and explore new methodologies, new tools, new solutions, and truly we're trying, like Patrice said, to also find our own definition of humanizing. But the conversation external to the course this time, which you were talking about with the Hangouts and the Twitters, was extremely more active than I've seen in the past. I know Eros had done some wonderful Node Excel graphs of the conversation external on Twitter, and it would have been brilliant to see last times versus this time. And so hopefully he'll come along for the next iteration of it, and we can take a look at how that evolves, because each community is so different.
I think somebody on Twitter commented that they felt like the line between instructor and student had blurred, which is really what you want to see in a course. And so that was a really great outcome, I thought. Do we want to take a question that's been posted?
Sure.
I would be to read it. Philip Drexler posted a question, and we hope people that are watching will also post their questions. His question is, can online courses be therapeutic as well as educational? Which is a fabulous question. Any takers?
I'm not sure I understand it.
I would love to answer this one because I do think of this course as therapy. I'm going through and crunching numbers and analyzing data for my dissertation, and this has been the most wonderful distraction from that. If my supervisor's watching, I'm sorry I said it out loud, but I do think that coming back to this community and having these rich conversations, whether they're external on Twitter or in the course, has been a very healthy and helpful distraction from what is a very siloed and independent and sometimes lonely thing to do, which is a dissertation. So I've enjoyed it in that respect.
Yeah, and I suppose it depends on how you're defining online courses. You know, are they for-credit courses that are part of your program, MOOC, some other course that you're taking? But I hear from many of my students that being an online student can be very lonely, and so from that standpoint, when we have live sessions during our online courses, I guess you might say that in some ways it's therapeutic from the standpoint that there's a lot of discussion when we first get together about how people's weeks are going, how their studying is going, and so it does create kind of a support network, I think, for students, and it helps them build the relationships where they then have somebody to reach out to when they need to.
And probably too also depends on what your definition of learning is, because really the question could be, can learning be therapeutic? And sometimes I'm sure it can be. Other times I'm sure it can be very stressful. Other times I'm sure it can be very boring. Other times it can be very exciting. So, and different people find those different emotional outlets to be having different levels of therapy. Some people might find an exciting thing be very therapeutic. Another one might find something very exciting to be very stressful, right? It just depends on how we define those words and what they mean for us personally. Everyone's probably different. So I think that it can be therapeutic, but it won't necessarily be the same kind of therapeutic for everyone, and people might be defining that therapeutic value differently, I guess I could say. So that's kind of a non-answer, maybe.
No, I liked it, Matt, because now I'm going back and looking and saying yes, but online course, to your point, could be a variety of different things, and to me, it was more about being connected to a community of people that I could bounce ideas off of and talk to and have conversations with. And even, I'll go back to fun and play, that 5-word humanizing game that we played yesterday or the day before with Andy, that all by itself, isn't that kind of fun? And isn't doing something like that where we're thinking and learning, but also playing, isn't that more therapeutic than just digesting content and writing papers? I found it to be fascinating and really engaging.
Yeah, I think I understand the question better now, but Patrice, you just mentioned the difference between like the formal courses for credit and the MOOCs, and I think if you find your passion, and there are thousands of courses out there that are free, and then you follow this. It doesn't matter whether it's online or not. The point is, if you find your passion and you're learning, and it's not costing you money or stress in that way. If it's what you want, then it's not going to be stressful, right? And then I think in that way, having those doors open that 10 years ago, we didn't even think it was possible. I think that is therapeutic. That can make you feel good about yourself.
And I hope people had the opportunity to explore some ideas that they've never put into their current online practice, their teaching practice, that they can now take away to make their courses more fun, engaging, therapeutic, humanized, whatever the definition of that is for them, that helps the learners be more engaged. I think for me it's always been about learner engagement and it being people feeling more connected to each other. And for those who maybe didn't find their voice on Twitter or didn't find their voice in the course this time, for whatever reason, it might have been life or distractions, or they just didn't have the time. I hope they come back and continue to join the community and in the next version of the course that we hope to run next year, because we're always looking to try new things and explore new tools, and that's going to be great.
So I'd like to pose a question. Oh, sorry. I was just going to pose a question. But Matt, go ahead.
I was going to say, as far as the different people engaging, if you go on the activity bank, Jenny Roy was actually very, very active in that. She's one of the nursing professors here at UTA. She wasn't very active on Twitter, but she was very active in there. And I think that was one of the cool things, is you did see people, there were people that were very active on their blogs, they're very active in the discussion forums. And so there were people active in a lot of places. I think we're just kind of lagging behind on the technology. It's very hard to find all of Jenny's comments in the activity bank. I know they're there because they get emailed to me, but they're hard to find. I found, so we need to work on some interfaces, but I think that's a very interesting way to look at it. So yeah, to your question now.
So I was just going to pose a question to the three of you, because it's something I've been thinking about. I think we each went into this course kind of with our own perceptions of what humanizing an online course is and what social, cognitive, and instructor presence means to us. And I was just wondering if, after going through the course this time, if any of your thoughts on that had changed, or, if there were any things that other people posted about that you were like, that's like really, I'd like never thought of it that way, kind of thing.
I don't know that I necessarily saw anybody post anything related to the community of inquiry model that I felt was outside of things that I had read. I found it interesting. I can't remember who it was that brought it up, but there is some conversation going on about a fourth presence, and that being emotional presence. And I found it interesting that in some of the commentary and in some of the tweets and some of the blog posts, I saw people making reference to that. And I do think that maybe that goes back to Philip's comment about therapeutic. If you get past the instructor presence and you become social and you actually experience learning, true cognition, then perhaps that is when it is finally therapeutic, when it's more peaceful and less stressful.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember the authors, but I read a paper that talked about a fifth presence, learning presence, or something related to that. And they talked about it differently than cognitive. Like, it's different than cognitive, but I think people are always expanding on this framework. But to go back to your question, Patrice, I think the one thing that I'm starting to ponder even deeply now is instructor presence, because even though in the literature they talk about how social and cognitive is the hardest to understand or measure, from this time we ran this course, all the discussion is about this, and I think people are wondering what it is. Like, I had the hangout with Aris where he asked me, like, what do you think instructor presence is? And I told him, but he had different ideas, and Laura also talking about instructor presence versus student presence. So there's a lot of talk about our presence in our own courses and what it means, and I think we need to think about it even more deeply. It's not as clear as I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, I worked a lot on trying to get the dual layer of the garden and stream going. And that was kind of the humanizing part for me, and that's always it's the thing I love, but it generates a lot of questions that I always have to think through a lot of things and clarify things, and that was definitely a challenging part for me. Compared to DAOMOOC, in DAOMOOC there are people writing 5,000-word blog posts about how I don't know anything because of what I did and stuff like that. So it was a lot. People were a lot nicer in HumanMOOC. I like that. So that it's to me, that's part of humanizing the online experience, is creating these pathways for people to be able to actually choose the learning pathway that suits them best at any moment. And it's a very difficult concept to I mean, in a lot of ways, it's a simple concept, but actually implementing it with the limited tools that we have out there becomes kind of difficult because they don't always do what we want them to do. So it's always good to hear people's feedback and to think through that and to challenge myself as, well, why does this person want this feature? Why does this person want this design? Why does this person think about this? Because that helps me to clarify, different parts of that design and hopefully make it better. And, we're working with some people here at UTA to hopefully get some better technology out there to implement it. But that was part of the growth process for me. Is I always appreciate the feedback people have, even if it is 5,000 word blog post about how I don't know anything. But I'm not bitter about that one at all. But that was down MOOC, so
Yeah.
That was nice.
So, Matt, Rick has posted a question, Rick Bartlett, that says, what was one aha moment for each of you during this course? And because you and I have a history of bantering back and forth on dual layer and have different mental models and design models for that, I think it was really, my aha moment was really getting to better understand your concept of dual layer, because I felt like our ideas on that were really, really similar. And when Laura we were all three of us kind of engaged in quite a bit of a Twitter storm about whether we could bring some of the garden into the stream. I think my aha moment was that was something that you and I aren't fully aligned on. And in my model, it's more of a, to me, the online course that's humanized has more of a semi-permeable membrane, like a cell, and people can easily kind of pass back and forth, and there's an easier transfer. And with the dual layer design, it was more of the walled stream, which I'm still working on. It's not a walled garden, it's a walled stream. So for me, I guess that was my aha moment, was I finally really get what you've been saying all this time.
Well, it takes like a few months for me to figure out what I'm saying, so.
So anybody else with their aha moment during the course?
Well, I think one of them for me was, when I'm thinking, and it goes back to kind of that question of, what is instructor presence? And, thinking of instructor presence, more as I like to think of myself more as a guide. And I had a professor when I was getting my PhD who described it as, think of yourself as the banks of the river, which fits very nicely with our streaming garden, and guiding students through, and and letting them drive kind of the content and the curriculum. And I think a lot of what we saw, you said that already on, Twitter, where the students were really driving the direction of the course and driving the discussion and the content. And so for me, that was kind of an aha moment, was, okay, this is what it really looks like when you truly are a guide and you let the students, kind of drive the content.
What you say reminds me of the first Hangout, the participant-led Hangout that I was part of. I saw them talking about a Hangout, and I was like itching to be part of it, but because I'm one of the wayfinders, I wasn't sure what was the right thing to do. And so I talked about something about the design of the invite or something, and then they were like, "Well, you want to join us?" I'm like, I do, but if I know there's a limit on the spots. I mean, I don't want to take someone else's spot, some other participant's spot. And they were like, no, it's okay. And at that moment, it was like, I am one of the wayfinders. So it's really the boundaries, especially in our design, in the connected MOOC. It's just so blurred that you don't know when to step in and step out, and So yeah, that was kind of a moment for me. Where I was like, I don't know if this is right or wrong.
Yeah, I think that was definitely like a line I was trying to figure out how to balance, is, how present, how much to let people drive. So that was.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching those Hangouts, but even as I was watching them, I wanted to type some things on Twitter, and I was like, oh, should I, shouldn't I? It's participant-led, I don't want to influence it, but I might make sure they know that. So I did one tweet, and immediately they started reading it in the Hangout. Like, oh, okay, I better stop that. But Yeah, it's a difficult line to figure out.
Yeah.
And I was going to share on my aha moment. It's still kind of emerging and forming. I've struggled kind of figuring out where social learning fits into the dual layer garden and stream model. And I'm starting to realize that that instructivism can be social and that connectivism doesn't have to be social. When you start looking into the literature on two of those, I'm still trying to figure out how to articulate it, but it's something I'll probably make into a blog post in the near future. But you know, when you dig into instructivism, you know, a Twitter assignment can be instructivist if the instructor's telling you what to tweet and what to think. So that would be, I guess, the stream because the instructor's telling you what to do. But connectivism can be you can read someone's blog post and then never comment on it, but because you're connected with them, that's connectivism, but you're not really social with them. And so that's where it's been confusing for me is where does social learning fit into the whole dual layer model. And so hopefully it's an emerging aha moment. I don't necessarily have the actual final aha, like, you know, what this means, but it's kind of what's an emerging aha moment for me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. I remember Mike Sharples, when I was at the eMOOCs conference over in Belgium, saying that all learning is a conversation. And that was really kind of the point of our talk there. So back to your point, if the person is reading the blog, they may be connectivist, but if they're not commenting on it and it's not a conversation, then it's not social. Same thing the other way around. And I think of what we have inside the LMS as very much social constructivist because people are constructing their own knowledge. They're creating, it's project-based or not really problem-based, but project-based learning inside the LMS that is very social because we use the discussion forums instead of the assignment tool. So they can see each other's posts. They can comment on each other's creations. So I think from that respect, I see that internal space inside Canvas as being social for those who engage in it. But we did also have the big giant wall up, right? The great wall of Canvas to keep the layers separated.
Here's a thought for you, Matt. Maybe you can think about it for your own research. But so I do understand, but like the way we ran the MOOC the last time, we did encourage also, you know, the external conversation, but it was in a different way, kind of. This time we had like two separate paths, and I think, and I don't, I'm not sure why, but it seemed like we had two different groups having two different conversations within one course, but is there a way where you can connect those two groups together in a way where both of them are comfortable in their own way of learning? You know, so I don't know, they talked about adding a Twitter conversation within Canvas. Maybe this could be a way where people out inside, even if they don't have Twitter accounts, but they see it and then they can post inside of Canvas something related to that. So I don't know, but I think figuring out ways where we can connect them while still having the options to do what they prefer to do. Yeah.
Well, and Maha, you'll remember in the last iteration, we even brought in Symbaloo. I think it was Helen DeWard that created the Symbaloo of everyone's blog so that there was at least a launch pad to be able to go and do the commenting. So I definitely see ways we can open those walls up, but I should go back and say for this particular version of the course, it was about Matt's research and the dual layer design. And so this was intentional, not meant to be difficult or create barriers. It was just truly to get at the research questions.
Yeah. And one of the things we struggle with the dual layer model, especially of MOOCs, is that you can't have everyone involved in every conversation, really. You can't have everyone on Twitter because eventually, or you can't have everyone on discussion boards, it becomes too overwhelming, or Twitter becomes too overwhelming, or all these different avenues become too overwhelming if you get too many people into it. And so is it okay if people just don't participate in some avenues, or if there's a lot of student-led hangouts and for lots of different groups that we had no connection with, is that okay? That's what I'm trying to figure out, because once you start getting, more than 4, 5, 6 people involved in something, people just start becoming wallflowers and non-engaged and all that kind of stuff. And So that's the thing. The thing we're trying to struggle with is that, do we really even need to encourage all those connections, or just let people go to their specific corner, their specific thing that they like, and let them be engaged with a smaller group of people there, but not forcing that, because we all know how wonderfully people love being forced into group work, And it's just a big question we're still struggling with. We don't know the real answer for yet.
I think from the feedback that we got, I think that participants don't really they still don't understand the concept, because when I hear feedback from people, they talk about the stream and garden as being the course, like they have to be in both places. Like, yeah, I enjoyed Twitter, it was a lot of activity, but I didn't like the LMS, and I definitely, didn't learn from that. And, well, you can learn through Twitter and blogs alone within the HumanMOOC. You don't have to, the point of having the dual layer is to give you a choice in which way you want to participate. So people who are active on social media don't like Canvas, but what about those in Canvas? And we're getting their feedback, right? They probably would say the same thing. They would say, well, social media was distracting, I didn't like it, and that's okay. That's the core. You didn't miss out on anything, because you are able to reach your objective, your goals, in whatever way you choose. So I think explaining the concept of dual layer is important. Maybe we didn't explain it well enough.
Yeah, and definitely we're also trying to overcome, decades of students and learners being programmed that you have to do everything just to get the grade right. And so that's, that's a huge barrier to overcome. And also, I agree with you that we need to figure out how to explain it better in a way that, people understand that they don't have to do everything, or that they don't have to, in DownMOOC we had a lot of people that just, we explained it really well, and they were like, I know I don't have to do Twitter, but I hate Twitter, and here's why, my 20 reasons I hate Twitter. I'm like, why? Just ignore it, But,
yeah. I think it's funny because we all have a very course-centric model of what learning is, just from our own experiences. And we know that most of the participants are, master's degree or higher type folks that are active and participating in the course. So it doesn't surprise me that our old mental models of this course-centric, inside the LMS-centric experience is the course. And so maybe that's part of the reason it's hard to conceive of a new model and the dual layer design as you continue to refine and think through how you explain it. You also have to break down the existing models that people are trying to work around. We all connect to prior knowledge.
Yeah, I think it's a great, especially with the dual layer, it really reinforces how the focus in MOOCs needs to move away from completion rates and about, and that, people are going in, and what Matt and Maha said, people are going in and learning in the way that they want to learn and doing the things that are meaningful to them. And that's really what, that's really what we want. And it's not about, completing certain specific things, like you said, or trying to do everything. Yeah. But it is hard to move our mental model away from that.
Yeah, it is. It's very hard for me too, since I'm mostly connectivist. I'm really trying to dig in and understand the instructivist model and trying to understand how a learner learns best. And that there's a lot of literature on it. It's not the way I think through things. And so that's where I struggle when people want to do some kind of connectivist thing. I'm like, yeah, like, oh, wait a second. Am I forcing connectivism on the whole class there? I've always got to pull back when I'm like, yeah, I want to do that. I'm like, no, that's me, and I can't force my personal epistemology on the whole class. It's a line that's a struggle for me.
Yeah, and I think through this course, I'm seeing a note from Kathleen Wright that says she found the activity bank a fun place to dip in and get new ideas. And I think that that's one thing, that giving students voice and choice and agency in their learning, freeing them from the timeline. I know this course had time involved in it, so that's another thing that maybe we have to figure out, how do we untangle that as well. But again, it goes back to, what did people get out of it? Clearly, Kathleen had some fun in the activity bank. There you go, Matt.
Yay. I like the activity bank. And speaking of time and moving forward, we're pretty much out of time, but we need to talk about moving forward. How do we keep the conversation going in HumanMOOC? Or do we?
Of course we do, on the Twitter, right? I think, Maha and I were in the second iteration of the course together, and the conversation has been going on Twitter for quite some time. So the hashtag HumanMOOC, even in the first iteration of the course in 2013, you can go back and see some comments from the first group of people that were involved in it. So I'd say it can definitely continue on Twitter, blogging, of course, also. But any other ideas before we actually have the course again next year, or end of this year, sorry, 2016?
Like, during the course, we saw a lot of the participants driving things, which we've already talked about. And so I think, it would be great to continue to see that and, have people suggest, hey, I miss my HumanMOOC friends, or I have this thing I want to talk about, I read this article, let's have a Google Hangout. And so we would really encourage people to do that. You also have the Google Plus community that you can use, to stay connected. And Matt, did you want to just do a wrap-up reminder about your research too?
Yeah, that's a good one. And also, we can keep the blog hub going. So if you want to continue to blog to your HumanMOOC tags or whatever you sign up for, if you want to sign up for it still, we can still get you added in there. We'll have to have a discussion of how we archive that and move forward with the future of the course. But at least until we have that conversation, we'll still stay up. But to the research, thank you to everyone who has participated in the research. And this week, I believe on the 14th is when I'm going to shut down the initial quantitative survey. That was basically a self-regulated learning survey, let you think through self-regulated learning. And everyone that finishes that is invited to participate in an interview. And I want to also finish those up this week. And that interview can be online, face-to-face like this through Skype. It will be recorded. Or there's also an online form where you can go in and fill out the answers to the questions. Either way, since we know we're pulling from a large international audience, we wanted to give people who aren't as comfortable speaking English to be able to fill out that form. So you should have gotten the email. I need to email a few more people today, and I'll send out a reminder email. And getting very close to getting all the people that I need through it, but we can still use some more people going through the interview. So you can contact me if you can't find your email, and I can still get you into that interview process. And thank you for everyone who's filled it out. We had some great responses so far.
And Matt, how should they contact you to be a part of your research?
You can contact me on Twitter at GrandePed. You can contact me through email, matt@uta.edu. And either one of those methods should be fine for contacting me. Or you can also contact me through Canvas. There's an inbox system there that goes straight to my email too. That'll work.
All right. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure to work with the three of you on the course this time. And thanks to everyone who participated in it. It has been, I know I keep using the term fun, but this community that I like to learn with challenges my thinking. And I think anytime someone stretches my thinking, I think of it as a really great learning opportunity for me too. So I've enjoyed it very much. Look forward to seeing people again on Twitter.
And I reiterate what Whitney said. It's been great working with the three of you, and it's just been a fabulous experience being a wayfinder in the course and meeting so many people and being part of the conversation.
I reiterate what you and Whitney said. It was a lot of fun, a great learning experience. I loved working with you guys, and I'm looking forward to running this course again.
Yeah, I guess I can say ditto. I agree too. But yeah, it was really great experience working with the three of you, and yeah, this is I learned a lot from the three of you and from all the participants, from everyone that tweeted and blogged and everything. Learned a lot. Really had a great time with this course. Thank you very much.
You still have a few days to get your assignments in if you want to earn your badges.
Oh yeah, January 11th is the due date, right?
The course will close completely on the 11th. The due date has already come and gone, but they have a few days left if they still want to earn those badges.
Oh, okay. Well, all right then. I guess we will stop the broadcast and just say goodbye from all of us, and we really appreciate everything. So,
all right.
Bye, everyone.
Get out there and humanize your online courses, everybody.
Yes.